Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Aquarium Live. My name is James. I'm from our education department. Dana's behind the computer helping us out today. And Luke is answering questions over at the computer, but doesn't mean Luke's the only one answering questions. If you have questions that are really important that we want to answer live online, text into this number right here at 562-286-1838. Just remember that texting rates do apply, and if you're one of our younger viewers, make sure you have an adult help you or you have permission to text into us so that we can help learn more about animal training today. Well, that's the topic, training. Did you think that we trained most of our animals here in the aquarium? There's some pretty special ones that we train and that you probably have seen a lot of before, like our mammals and our birds. But we train a lot of the fish here too. And we're going to talk a little bit about the process of training and why we train animals here. We're also going to make some observations of two of our very famous animals that we train here on a daily basis. So, let's start with that part. I'm going to hold up one of my stuffed animal friends right here. And I want to see if you know who this is. Can you tell what animal this is? It is a seal. Did you say sea lion? Well, you're really close because they're very closely related. The seals and sea lions are so closely related that their friends, the sea lions, are often called eared seals. Does that mean seals don't have ears? No, they've got ears. Let's take a look at what we're talking about. So, first thing you see, what do you notice about a seal? I noticed they have spots. Did you see the spots too? Okay, so we have spots. Oh, you saw their little flippers? They do have smaller flippers. What else do we see? Oh, they have a face, very cute face. But there's no outside ears, so what are their sunglasses going to hang on? I don't know. Well, seals do have ears, it's just they don't have any outside ear parts just like we do. They just have an opening on the side of their head where their ear is at. Well, what's another thing? Okay, here we go. Here's our sea lion friend. Let's compare. We saw spots on the other one. Do you see spots on the sea lion? No, I don't see any spots. It's all pretty much just the color brown. Very good. What else? Oh, this one's got, at least by body size, much bigger front flippers. I wonder what they can do with those. So they have very big front flippers. And oh, hey, here, look, he's got little ear flaps. So sea lions must have it easier wearing glasses. So those are the three really easy to point out things that are different between seals and sea lions. But we're going to have our friend Captain Joe help us out a little bit too. And he's going to teach us a little bit more about the differences. But also we're going to get to check in with some of our animal experts that work right here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. We call them mammalogists. They're part of the husbandry team, the people that take care of the animals. And they work mostly with the mammals. So, let's see. Should we check in with Captain Joe? I bet he's over by our sea lion habitat, and he's probably going to help us a little bit more with learning about seals and sea lions. Captain Joe, are you there?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our seal and sea lion habitat. Today we're here to investigate the differences between these two very special marine mammals. Let's go ahead and take a closer look.
All right, so we explained the three differences. Did you remember? Very good. Spots versus not, big flippers versus short flippers, and external ear flaps. So the sea lions have the external ear flaps. So their scientific group name are often nicknamed the eared seals. We said that already. Well, let's take a look at some sea lions swimming through the kelp. Now we have a special video that Joe doesn't know about. So this is a special video of just some sea lions swimming through the kelp, and it'll help us learn a little bit more about how they move while they're in the water. Now my friend Dana is going to pull it up, and we're going to see what sea lions in our own kelp forest habitat in Southern California would look like. Check this out.
For one thing, if you take a look at this sea lion, you can see that he has big flippers both in front and back. For another difference, look closely at the sides of the head. You see those? Those are ear flaps. Sea lions have external ear flaps just like us. Now take a look at this harbor seal, and do you see any differences? Little stubby flippers in the back little stubby paws in the front, and look at the side of its head. No ear flaps. Seals do have ears, but the only thing they have to show for it on the outside are these little holes on the side of their head. No ear flaps for them.
Did you see all of those amazing whiskers on them too? They're so cute. What do you think the whiskers are for? If you have any pet dogs or cats at home, what do your pet dogs and cats use whiskers for? Well, for cats, sometimes it lets them know how big a space they can actually fit their whole body through. So if they can fit their whiskers in without anything touching, they can squeeze their body in there. Well, seals and sea lions don't really squeeze through that many holes and nooks and crannies in the ocean, so they must use them for something very different. They're called vibrissa, and their whiskers help them with finding their food or even just sensing the world around them. Just like we can feel the wind blow through our hair, the seals and sea lions can feel the water move past their whiskers, their vibrissa. And that way they can tell a little bit more about their surroundings. Now, our stuffed animal friends really didn't have any whiskers on them, but that's okay. The ones you saw in the videos did. Now, our first question has just come in from Charlotte. Charlotte's asking, do seals and sea lions have a good memory? And is that why we can train them? That is a really interesting question. We often think of animals as having different levels of memory. Have you ever heard that goldfish don't have a good memory? Well, turns out that's not true at all. A lot of animals, including the seals and sea lions, have really strong memories, meaning we can teach them something and they will remember that behavior. So we teach our animals behaviors here. We don't teach them tricks because, well, they're not magicians. That'd be pretty fun to watch them. So we teach them behaviors, and it either helps them mimic or copy what they do in their own environment, or it helps us assess or learn more about their health. Now, if they're moving around a lot, and we can tell that that's normal, and then if they're injured or something's wrong and they're not moving around nearly as much, that tells us a little bit more that we need to be careful, that something may not be right, and we need to have our doctor check out the animals too. So movement and training is very important. Now, they have such a good memory, they will remember a lot of different behaviors. I don't even know how many different behaviors they can learn. But in some cases, we teach them very complex ones that combine 2 or 3 different behaviors together into one big one. There was one of my favorite times we got to watch one of the sea lions learned what we call a pillar, where they jump straight up out of the water, and then they combine it with a pillar and a belly flop. Then, once that was all mastered, they added a bark to it. So it would pillar, start to belly flop, and it would bark on the way down to help test the sea lion's memory and to help keep it thinking, because just like us, if they get bored, they get a little mischievous and they might get in trouble. If we keep them thinking and working, they're more likely to be happier on their exhibit. And so we keep combining and changing and sometimes teaching new behaviors to our animals. Now, Kevin's asking, how do we train the penguins and what is their memory like? Well, since we train a lot of animals here, it's important to include all of them when we talk about how to train. The method we use is called positive reinforcement. That means if they do the thing we ask them to do, we give them the reward. Now, they're getting food, so we just feed them the food that they would normally get. Now, don't worry. If they aren't doing the behaviors, that doesn't mean we don't feed them. We give them all of their food no matter what. We want to make sure that they're eating as much as they're supposed to every day. So we don't withhold it like they are not supposed to get it, but we use it as a reinforcement that, hey, you did what we asked, so here's the food item for you. One of my favorite things to see is what we call a jackpot. A jackpot is when they do something really amazing and we just give them a ton of food all at once. Could you imagine if, let's say like around Halloween time, if you celebrate Halloween, and you get all your candy, but you have to get just one at a time for doing something you're supposed to? Well, it might take a while to eat it, but you do something really amazing and somebody just throws a couple big handfuls of candy at you? That sounds awesome. Well, that's what a jackpot is. We give them a lot of food all at once. So the penguins, it's very similar, but we're not training them to do these big behaviors like seals and sea lions. They're not jumping out of the water or doing these other things, but instead we train them to come to the staff members to feed. And we have them do it kind of not all at once. They kind of just meander, do their own thing. They all come over on their own time, and they come over to the staff member and they receive their food. Now, we don't really give them any other training to other behaviors, but especially around medical treatment. So I don't know how many of you really like to go to the doctor. It can be kind of scary. Well, the animals are just like you or I. they might get a little nervous about going to the doctor. So we teach them a little bit about that, and we have them participate in the training so it's easier to take them to the doctor. For the smaller animals like penguins or even sea otters, there's a carrier that they get into, and we can take them downstairs to our vet hospital. We'll check in with our vet hospital a little bit later today. But that's one of the things that we train our animals to do, is to be more comfortable with equipment and devices that are needed to help move them around. Sometimes needles or eye drops because they have to get an injection or we have to draw blood from them. And eye drops because our older animals, they need the eye drops to help keep their eyes healthy. So there's a lot that goes into training a lot of our animals, and they're all very good at remembering how this process works. Okay. Now, Captain Joe must have made it to the sea lion habitat. He must be in the tunnel. What is Captain Joe doing in the tunnel?
All right, kidheads. As part of every ocean ranger's training, we must all learn the majestic call of the California sea lion. Ready? Here we go.
That's pretty impressive,
Now,
Captain Joe.
The harbor seal.
Captain Joe, I don't hear anything. We didn't actually hear any seal call. What's all that about?
Well, that is because the harbor seal is stealthy and quiet.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. Can you tell us more about some of their
Well, of course.
habitats? Okay. So Captain Joe is going to help us with a little bit more learning about the animals. But did you hear his sea lion impersonation? Did you want to try doing a sea lion impersonation on your own too? I bet you can. They kind of bark like our dogs do, or they kind of roar like a lion will. Kind of where they get their name from. But what about the harbor seals? Did anybody hear Captain Joe? Not really. Harbor seals are pretty quiet. They don't really make any big noises. They do things we call like a grunt or a growl or a raspberry. So they don't make big noises. They do make some noises, but you really can't hear them. You're definitely too close to a harbor seal if you can hear the harbor seals. So keep that in mind. All right, we had a couple more questions come in. Let's see. Anton's asking, what type of water do seals and sea lions live in? Well, I have the perfect joke for that. You want to hear my joke about seals and sea lions and their favorite water? Okay. Why do sea lions prefer to live in salt water instead of pepper water? Because pepper water makes them sneeze. Dana's laughing, so I bet at least a couple of you are too. Luke's not laughing. He doesn't have a sense of humor like I do. It's okay. They are laughing with me. It's great. Okay. So Mia is from 4th grade. Thanks for tuning in, Mia, at Walker Memorial Academy in Florida. Wow, East Coast friends, thank you for viewing. Do sea lions fight with a lot of each other? They do have to kind of posture and boister themselves, and they kind of roughhouse a little bit, but they're not really fighting too much because they might hurt each other a little bit, but they're not going to hurt each other very extensively. Now, a lot of what they're doing is when males are competing for space, especially on the beach. So in the summer, the breeding season for marine mammals, they have a certain amount of beach space that they can use. And only the biggest males really get to hang out in one big area. They're called a beach master. And so what they do is they have to try and fight for space, but they really don't want to fight too hard because if they're both so injured that they can't find a date, then it doesn't really help them at all. So they do a lot of big posturing and sometimes hitting each other, but they're not really fighting so extensively that they're really, really going to hurt each other that badly. But they do have to do that a little bit. Now, the younger males that are not quite as large, they all just kind of go off to their own space on the beach, and they hang out together. They really don't fight that much. Now, they do kind of roughhouse, like I said. They shove each other around, but it's not too bad. Now, let's see. Vashti is asking, what kind of mischief do they get into? I'm so glad you asked. When we remodeled the entire sea lion habitat, we put in a lot of decorative sea stars. They weren't real. It was just part of the rock facing. Well, since they were attached, they weren't made out of concrete like the rest of it was. They could get pulled off. So the sea lions managed to figure a way out of pulling all the fake sea stars out. They even did this with some of the replica seaweed. They even took one of our underwater cameras away. So they are pretty mischievous if they get a little bored. But it's also a little of us learning from them about what kind of environment are they most comfortable in here at the Aquarium of the Pacific, and what can we provide that makes them the happiest inside their space? So we learned a little bit too about their mischievous behavior to make sure that we're providing the best habitat possible for them. Okay, well, let's see. What can we check out next? All right, I actually have a sea lion replica skull. Do you want to check it out? Hold on. Now, we talked a lot about training, and food is part of their training. So let's talk a little bit about how they eat. So here's our model skull of a adult male sea lion. You might wonder, well, James, how do you know it's a adult male sea lion? Well, a sea lion, when you look at their skull, their cheekbone, like ours, is a certain shape. A harbor seal's cheekbone is a different shape. So that's one thing that tells me this is a sea lion. The other thing that tells me this is a sea lion, especially the California sea lion, is this part right here. This is called the sagittal crest. And on large adult males, this grows real tall and get this big bump on their forehead. Now, the muscles that attach to their jaw attach up here. So if they have a bigger bump, they should have a little bit more muscle mass to their jaw so that they can have a more powerful bite. And when you look at their teeth, they've got some pretty big triangular teeth. What do you suppose they like to eat? Probably not popcorn or candy. They like to eat stuff that's kind of slippery and slimy in the ocean. Fish, squid, octopus. There's even been pictures of sea lions eating sharks. Now, it's not like a great white, like a really big shark. It's a smaller shark that we've seen them eating before. So they have a pretty incredible diet. They eat a lot of different things. And these triangle teeth you see here help them bite into their food, tear it enough that they can swallow it, and they kind of swallow really big chunks of food. They're not swallowing their food entirely whole unless it's a smaller piece of fish. All right. So let's go and take a look at some of the animals in the water. We talked about the differences. We talked about some of the training and why it's important for us to have training with other animals. But let's check out what they look like in the ocean.
Sea lions tend to hunt in shallow water, both out in the open and in our local kelp forests, eating many different kinds of fish and squid, and they can hold their breath for about 9 minutes. Now, seals, on the other hand, although they enjoy those fish and squid, they also enjoy crab and shrimp on the bottom of the ocean floor, and they can hold their breaths for up to 30 minutes.
That is incredible. They can hold their breath for 30 minutes. That is a long time. That's longer than any person I think has ever held their breath. But it's important to think about how the animals behave on exhibit too. So we'll take a minute to answer a couple more questions, and then we'll see what we're doing with the animals while they're on exhibit during a training session with Captain Joe and our friend Jimmy. So Sarah's asking, how do seals fight? It's not a lot of slapping or punching. It's actually very different. They're standing on their flippers, so they can't really use them. So what they do is they bump their chests together. And sometimes they hit each other with their teeth in their faces. They can scratch each other up. But if you ever see images or videos of seals and sea lions fighting, they can bite each other, but a lot of it is hitting themselves together. So imagine two people like chest bumping together because they're really excited. Well, seals and sea lions are doing that to try and push each other around and establish that they are bigger and stronger than the next one. So that's kind of how they do that. Okay. More questions from Walker Memorial Academy in Florida's 4th grade class. Are harbor seals quiet because they hide from predators? Interesting to think about. Animals do make noise, so we have to be concerned about where do they make noise and does it help them hide. Have you ever played hide and seek before and you started giggling and somebody found you? Yeah, that happens. But in the ocean, seals and sea lions are mammals. So remember, they have lungs, they have noses just like we do. Now, while we can make noise underwater, we don't make noise a lot. It's not much noise that they can make. So in terms of using the quietness for hiding, it's not quite how that works. Whales, other marine mammals, they do make a lot of noise in the ocean. That's how they communicate. But seals and sea lions are really only making a lot of noise above water. Now, what else might help them hide, though? Let's keep thinking, KJ. How might these animals hide? Well, this one has spots, and spots are great for camouflage. So that's one way you can use it to hide. Now, if you are a sea lion, darker colors are really good to hide in the dark too. So KJ asking about why are they quiet to hide, it's more just about how their vocal cords are designed and how they can make noise versus other things that do help them hide instead. All right, Bianca's asking, do otters make good pets? Now, there might be a lot of videos of really cute river otters online that people have in their homes. I would not personally recommend having any kind of otter because they are part of the family that's called the mustelids. What's a mustelid, you ask? I'm glad you asked. Things like otters, badgers, wolverines, and weasels. They're a troublemaking group, but also they are kind of a cranky group, and that's okay. I'm not sure too many people have a pet wolverine. But because of this, they need very specialized, specific care, and otters do tend to have a very big diet, so that's also tough to take care of. But in other ways, they can be pretty good at defending themselves. There are a number of wildlife videos where a group of otters has defended themselves from much larger predators. So that is also something to keep in mind when people have certain kind of exotic animals, is that you really need to know all the things about this animal in order to make sure you're providing the best home for it. Okay. Luke is asking, not that Luke, a different Luke, don't worry. Luke is asking, how fast can sea lions swim? Well, pretty fast. I think it's like 15 miles an hour. I haven't clocked them before with a radar gun to make sure they're swimming very fast, but they are pretty quick. They can actually keep up with dolphins that are swimming around in the ocean. Dolphins are some of the fastest mammals around. So, they can swim pretty fast. Now, I don't know if they can sprint as fast as a dolphin, but they can definitely swim at the 5 to 15 mile an hour pace that most dolphins are in the ocean. Okay. Well, let's see. I think Joe and Jimmy must be out at the exhibit by now to help feed and train the animals. Let's check in with them and see what's going on exhibit.
Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back. I'm here with my friend Jimmy. He's a mammologist taking care of our sea lions, seals, and also our sea otters. And we have our special guest Parker here with us today.
Good morning, everybody. Hi. Wave hi, Parker. Say hi. Good boy. We're going to talk about our training. We train these animals so that they can participate in their health care. We can ask them to open their mouths. We can target and move our fingers over their eyes when we give them eye drops. We also want them to be physically fit and want them to think about the behaviors. So when Parker sticks out his tongue at everybody like he's getting ready to do, tongue, good.
Yeah.
I say good, and then he gets excited because he knows he's going to get a fish. That's herring, then we have capelin, and we also have squid. So he's very focused on the bucket because he knows he's going to get what we call a reward. If you guys do something good, you may get a quarter. If Joe's going to be good, I might buy him lunch after we do this.
Yeah.
But the training is really important because we want them to be comfortable with us. Good boy. So there's a variety of behaviors that we do train them. Salute. Good.
Good boy.
So we ask for the behavior either verbally with our mouths or we do a hand signal. And so Joe's going to do a hand signal. He's going to get his right hand and point to his ear. Look at Parker and point to your ear.
Good boy.
All right. And now if you get your right hand and shake your index finger back and forth, he's going to do a no. Do it.
Parker.
Good.
Good boy.
Now stick your right thumb out.
Good boy.
Good. So now look over there and give him a kiss. Give Joe a kiss. Hey, come here.
Parker, give me a big smooch. Thanks,
Good.
buddy. Good boy.
So that's just a little bit about our training, and having him sit here for the whole time that we're filming is a really good experience for him. And now, since he did so good, I'm going to have him lift up. You want to wave bye or wave? Say bye. You want to dance? Dance for him a little bit. Do some behaviors.
Nice.
Lift it up.
Good boy.
Now we're going to do a jackpot, meaning he did everything I wanted him to do. So I'm going to go back in the exhibit and give him all of his fish all at once. You guys
Awesome.
Have a good day. See you later.
Thank you so much, Jimmy.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much,
Bye.
Parker.
Say bye. Good boy. Let's go.
What an awesome time with Parker, our California sea lion. Boys and girls, we're going to send it back to you at the studio.
That was really interesting. We got to listen to a lot of the things we talked about that we do with our animals while we train them on exhibit with Jimmy. He's one of our senior mammalogists here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. But there's also an important question to think about. We said that we train them to participate in their health care. Well, this is our vet hospital, the Molina Animal Care Center, and it's important to think about what do we do if an animal is actually sick. So while we have a few last minute questions coming in, let's check in with our friends over at the medical hospital here on site and see how they help take care of our animals if they have to visit the vet.
Welcome, Ocean Rangers. My name is Shara Seals, and I'm here at the Molina Animal Care Center. This is our veterinary hospital for all of our animals here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. Today, I'm going to show you our pharmacy. We have a lot of the same medications that humans can get. Sometimes they might be in a pill. Sometimes they may even be liquid or drops. Today, we're going to refill some eye drops for one of our animals. Here, let me show you. This is a prescription for Parker. He's one of our sea lions. Sometimes the animals may not want to take their medications. So to make it easier, we train them. That way they can get a fish for reinforcement and we make it really positive and fun for them. There are many different ways to give our animals their medicine. If the medicine needs to go on the inside, then sometimes we can hide it in their food, like for fish and sharks. Sometimes we need to put it on the outside. So we can apply this ointment to a sea turtle shell to help it heal. Thanks for joining me, boys and girls. Now you know how our animals get their medicine. We'll see you next time.
Well, thanks, Shara, for teaching us a little bit about how we take care of animals if they have to visit the doctor. Well, we have a bunch of questions that we'll round out the end of the show with. And let's start with Dimitri from Cerritos asking, what do seals and sea lions like to eat the most? Well, here at our facility, mostly they're eating the herring and capelin you saw Jimmy giving them. They're not especially fond of the squid, but we do give them the squid because marine mammals like seals, sea lions, otters, whales, dolphins, they get their water from their food. So they're not drinking any water for water like we have to. Marine mammals get the water content from their food. So the squid have a lot more water in their body. So that's one of the reasons we give them the squid, even if it's not their favorite thing to eat. In the ocean, they eat so many different things. Seals and sea lions have a very big diet and a lot of things that are available for them to eat. What they like to eat the most, I'm not entirely sure, but here at the Aquarium of the Pacific, it's pretty much the herring that we provide for them. Junie's asking, how long can they swim before they need to rest? That is interesting because we do see them out on the rocks, right? They don't swim 100% of the time like a whale does. So marine mammals like seals and sea lions, they do get out on the rocks, we call it hauling out, to rest and sleep. A lot of times it's to sleep overnight. So they're at least sleeping overnight up on the rocks. And they'll take rests throughout the day to come up on shore and hang out. Now, the seals I've seen up on the rocks a lot more than the sea lions, but it kind of depends on the region you're in and the kinds of species you have available to observe. The California sea lion sometimes will just rest by floating at the surface, and they stick their flippers out of the water, kind of waving at us is what it looks like. But what they're doing is they're warming them up in the sunlight so they can keep swimming and keep being active in the ocean. Now, Valentina from East Dover is asking, how long do seals live? Well, in the ocean, it might be 15 to 20 years. It kind of depends. It depends on their overall health, their ability to find food, and kind of the habitat they're in. How clean is it? But here at the Aquarium of the Pacific, we have a seal that is, I believe, almost 30 years old now. She's one of our oldest animals here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. Lily is asking, do seals hunt in groups like sea lions do? Seals and sea lions might hang out in big groups, but they really aren't a pack hunting animal like we think of wolves doing this, or dolphins or orca hunting in a group. They might all be together feeding at the same time. Think of it like if everyone went to the buffet. So if we went to a buffet, we're all getting food because it's available for us to get to, but there's still a little bit of competition. You want to get that last chicken wing and somebody else wants to get it too. So we're not really all working together to get the same food, but we are all feeding in the same area. Now, a different Valentina from Rancho Cucamonga is asking, how do sea lions hide? Think about who the predators of seals and sea lions might be. Are there a lot of land animals that you can think of that would try to hunt them? Probably not. Instead, it's most likely animals in the ocean that are trying to hunt them. So if they need to really escape from a predator, they'll often go to the surface of the water or get out of the water and haul out to avoid that entire space, the ocean, so that those predators can't reach them. Now, some very interesting and smart orca have still figured this out, and they will follow sea lions to the beach, and they will try to grab a sea lion as it gets out of the water. If you've ever been to the beach and you try to run through the water, like knee-deep water, it's not super easy. It slows you down quite a bit. Same thing happens to the seals and sea lions. At last moment before they're getting out of the water, it slows them way down. And the orca have learned that if they rush up to the beach just at that moment and try to grab them and pull them back in the water, they're able to hunt that animal, and it doesn't have a lot of ability to defend itself. So some animals are pretty smart and figure out those defenses, but in other cases, seals and sea lions can hide, hold their breath longer than most of their other predators do, besides sharks. Sharks don't have to hold their breath at all. And so some of these special adaptations that they have to survive in that habitat allow them to avoid their predators. Really good questions from everybody. I appreciate all the participation you had today. So don't forget, if you're not watching live, that doesn't mean you can't ask us questions. See this email down here? You can email us anytime at live@lbaop.org, and we can answer more of your amazing questions. Well, we have a lot more programming available for you today. I appreciate everybody hanging out and learning. We're going to be checking in with more information about seals and sea lions later. So if you still want to watch more about seals and sea lions, check in this afternoon. We're also going to be doing a fun class for some of our younger viewers. If you are one of our really young friends, guess what? We're going to be dancing like animals this afternoon. So come on over, join us on our Aquarium Online Academy, and don't forget to check out all our other videos that are already up on our website. Enjoy the rest of your Monday afternoon, everybody.